It's interesting. The two conversations on the two quarterbacks this week have been, one, can you open up the playbook for Dillon Gabriel to throw the ball down the field more? Mm-hmm. Which, if you know anything about Dillon Gabriel, you know that's not his forte. That's not what he was here to be brought for. And the other thing has been, well, but Shedeur's brought this circus, and you just can't have the circus around anymore, as if this was a surprise. Dillon Gabriel profiles in the NFL as a checkdown Charlie, and Shedeur is a social media influencing quarterback. None of what I saw on Sunday, that last Sunday, surprised me with Dillon Gabriel. Mm-hmm. I don't expect, we've opened up the offense and now he's turned into Aaron Rodgers from 10 years ago. And the same thing with Shedeur. I don't expect him to turn into, Dillon Gabriel overnight.
They've gotten what they've asked for is kind of what you're spelling out here.
Yes.
Like they've gotten you signed up for this ride. Now the ride is happening. You knew that this ride was going on. And it's, hey, here's why I would defend the Browns just briefly on this. It's just the idea that they haven't really shown us that they're against what they've signed up for in that regard. Mm-hmm. Like, when it comes to Dillon Gabriel, like, that's part of what Stefanski loves. Stefanski has not shied away from loving that part of Dillon Gabriel, and he's obviously utilized that part of Dillon Gabriel. And then even when it comes to Shedeur and the circus, listen, a lot of people have made it a circus or whatever you want to call it, but it's not as if the Browns are sitting there and saying, it's become too much. In fact, you're almost going in the other direction. When people say trade Shedeur immediately, they've scoffed at that.
So, by the way, this should be, other than the fact that I think Kevin is uncomfortable with Shedeur and having a personality, what Jason Lloyd said on the Scoop City podcast, where the Browns, whoever that could be, fear Shedeur becoming another Baker. Mm-hmm. I think the Browns, I would be surprised if the Browns were surprised. I think fans might be surprised.
I mean, was surprised in what aspect? I thought you were talking about the circus.
I think
if you didn't see the circus or the attention, I'm going to call it attention. If you didn't see the attention around Shedeur coming, you're just an idiot.
Okay, on both fronts. One, I think they think there's something there with Dillon Gabriel that isn't, meaning he becomes Steve Young, throwing the ball down the field all the time. And then two, I think the Shedeur detractors or Browns fans who were maybe not on the Shedeur bandwagon, I think they thought once he became the backup, they wouldn't have to think about or hear about him again. And that's just not how that works.
All right, well, now you put me in a hard spot because I don't want to call Browns fans idiots, but the people that thought that it would just go away, then you didn't pay attention to anything that happened with Shedeur already. Like that's listen, some people think this is a bug. I look at it as a feature with Shedeur, so I don't want to paint that in any sort of negative way. But like the attention's always going to be, you're Deion's kid. It's not going anywhere.
Well, and that's the other thing. I think this week people have started to paint Shedeur in a light that is very NFL centric and a very stuffy way of looking at quarterbacks, as if Shedeur has become a distraction. It's nonsensical. Shedeur, although I know he encourages with a social media chain and the kind of coverage that he generates, right? Because let's be honest, Shedeur does equate to clicks. It's as simple as
that. For sure.
He is a lightning rod, both good and bad, no matter what happens, no matter if he does anything good or bad. But like this idea that he's become a distraction or it's too much for the Browns, then that's on the Browns. That is like, if the Browns are like, man, this is really tough to navigate. Yeah, you could have figured that one out like 5 months ago.
I don't think they think it's tough to navigate or are really disheartened if you talk to the people at the very, very top of the Browns, and I mean the Haslams. Like it's funny how whoever told Jason about the fear of being Baker or whatever it is, Jimmy Haslam loved the attention that Baker Mayfield brought. I call him Jerry Jones Jr. for a reason. He loves the idea of people talking about the Browns, people discussing the Browns, and this was one of the only ways you were going to get people to talk about the Browns this season. So I don't think the Haslams at the very top, I don't think they're fearful in any regard with this. I think they're getting exactly what they wanted on this. When they turn on ESPN, when they turn on Fox Sports 1, they turn on the big stations, people are discussing the Browns. They're discussing Shedeur. I think if you talk to Haslam, that's what they'd go for. I think the fear side of this maybe is in the other people that are close to the top of the Browns but aren't the tippy top.
I'd be surprised if this bugs Andrew Berry at all.
I was talking about Stefanski.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, he gets bothered by everything.
And I think that's where, if Stefanski feels like Shedeur has become a distraction, I guess my problem is
Stefanski doesn't have power to do anything at this point.
But I think my problem is Shedeur's become a distraction. Because I don't think it's Shedeur. Shedeur doesn't, yes, he can absolutely get more people talking about him by miming and stuff like that. But, like, he's not out there getting in legal trouble, right? He's not out there being accused of what certain dudes in that locker room have been accused of. He's not coming out and saying inflammatory things. So, like, I don't get Kevin's side of this other than there's just a lot of natural noise that comes with Shedeur, at which point, oh, well, he's a member of the team. This happens. Miles gets himself into Dutch at least once a year with something he says. Well, there's the whole lightning rod of Deshaun as well.
I think Stefanski just wants an incredibly boring locker room. Most coaches probably want an incredibly boring locker room, but that's just not how the NFL works, and it's really not how this Browns team has ever worked around Stefanski. They've always been a lightning rod. Maybe that's where his reprieve or where he's searching for a reprieve comes from. He's like that the meme of the Popeyes worker that's just been overworked and is sitting on the bench. That's the fan. I'm just tired. I'm tired at this point. I've been every year. I get some sort of controversy every year. I get Baker into OBJ. Then I deal with OBJ's dad. I get Jarvis attached to that, and then I get Deshaun Watson, and now I get Shedeur when it should be like I think he just might be the Popeyes worker. He might just be. He's tired.
Does he just not know what being an NFL head coach is?
I mean, that's where someone needs to like open up his eyes a little bit and say this does happen basically everywhere that isn't like the Tennessee Titans. This happens everywhere.
Philadelphia was 4-0, and A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, and Saquon Barkley apparently have been having some sort of war, and they were 4-0 after winning the Super Bowl.
But there are sleepier cities than others, right? Like one thing that's great about Cleveland and great about this and why this station works is because Browns fans are awesome and Browns fans care a ton. One thing with Baker, for instance, Tampa Bay, sleepy city. Sleepy city. That media doesn't go after you. That media throws you softballs. You're not really dealing with much. No one's coming after you in any sort of way. The questions you get asked are all softball questions. Like, there are softer spots in the NFL than what Cleveland is.
I'm trying to think if I can rebut that, but I don't know. I don't really know that much about Tampa Bay. 216-474-0092. Has Shedeur become a distraction? And I do think that leads us to what I think is a tricky question. I think Stefanski needs a definitive win, not like a moral victory. He needs a win this weekend. I think you could say the same darn thing about Dillon Gabriel.
They both need wins, but I like to play the who needs the win more card. We don't get to just sit there and say both. Pinkston said both, and you know what infuriated me? I think Stefanski needs to win more than Dillon Gabriel this weekend. I think Stefanski needs to get back in the good graces of the fan base. I think he needs to start to stack wins, as they say. I think he needs... Last week was bad for Stefanski. It wasn't that bad for Dillon Gabriel. It was bad for Stefanski. I think Stefanski needs this one.
So I think this is the kind of game that if it turns into a blowout loss... So like last week, fans came back and it was time to turn on Kevin again. Right? The Green Bay game got you a reprieve. Then you had the Detroit game, which no one expected you to win. And then you got bounced this last week in London. People turned on Kevin. Because it's the Steelers. Because you're coming
this was a rough week for Kevin in many ways.
It is.
Bruce Arians publicly speaking the way he did, he got just torched by one of the better coaches the NFL's seen.
I'd love to get that guy on this show one day. But
would it help if he... Would he appear or have a more likely chance of appearing if Stefanski continues to be not great, or if Stefanski turns it around? I'm going to go with the first one.
I have no idea. What I will say is I think this is the kind of game where fans who are thinking we've got something legit in Dillon. If Dillon has a lesser game than he did this last week and you lose, I would be surprised if we aren't hearing Shedeur's name more from fans on Sunday or on Monday.
We're going to hear it before even kickoff happens. Like if I'm Shedeur, if I'm Dillon, he just has to understand 2 games. Kevin's not moving away from you after 2 games. There's no chance that happens. He loves you too much.
Jackson Dart was good enough to win the football game last night. Last night was really Cam Scadaboo's night, but it's turned into Jackson Dart is now Eli Manning 2.0.
And so I saw you tweeting about this, and I know Ken was in a very similar frame of reference. Was there a hesitation to even want to talk about this today, or no?
No, because I don't know. It's tough. I understand the point that people are making. You need a quarterback. This was thought to be a bad quarterback draft, and you could have been one of the teams to trade up for Jackson Dart. At the same point, it's like, can you look at pick 5, pick 33, pick 35, pick 67, and go, yeah, I'd rather one of those guys not be here for 2 games, maybe 3 games of Jackson Dart, who's looked, again, okay. Yes, the Giants have won, but he's looked okay.
All right, so the saving grace in that conversation is the idea that it's only been 3 games. And I heard Colin Cowherd today. He already proclaimed that Jackson Dart, franchise quarterback. The Giants found their franchise quarterback with just last night. He opened his show saying franchise quarterback Jackson Dart. There are a lot of people, I listened to the fan in New York, they're making similar claims there as well, and they're not understanding the 3 games portion of this. So I'm not going to sit here and say that they have their franchise quarterback, but what I do think is interesting, and I think that it matters more than if it was just a star like Scadaboo, for instance, that they found in the 3rd round. It's like, well, why didn't you take Scadaboo? Well, the difference here is that Kevin Stefanski went to the pro day for Ole Miss, saw him with his own eyes. Mm-hmm. Then they had him hosted here for a visit because they wanted to see him with their own eyes. In a class where you needed quarterbacks, they sat there and they judged him as harshly as you can with these quarterbacks. Because remember, they're all about doing the due diligence, right? Everything's due diligence. Well, their due diligence, the early returns on this one is that their due diligence on Jackson Dart stunk. Wasn't good. Now, again, they might end up being right in this one. That's where Stefanski has to hope long-term that he is right, but I will hold them accountable in this regard. When you look at a quarterback and you say, when you have drafts everywhere, you could pick a number 2, you could pick it what turned into be number 5, you could pick a number 33 and 36 to trade up to get into the teens or the early 20s. You're telling everyone you did your due diligence. Jackson Dart isn't it. And if he turns out to be it, then yes, you did swing and miss.
I think right now, Jackson Dart is benefiting from the same thing that Dillon Gabriel benefited from, where the quarterback previously was such a dud. And things were so bleak in New York, just the way they were here when you moved to Dillon Gabriel, that there were no expectations. Like, people had already written the Giants off for the season, and now that they're, to me...
He scored 34 points, though, Nick, against the team that won the Super Bowl last year, while not having his top 2 wide receivers in Malik Neighbors, who's out for the season, and Darius Slayton, who isn't there.
He didn't throw for 200 yards.
Yeah, but he put up 34 points.
No, he didn't. Cam Scadaboo had 3 touchdowns. I'm going to give the credit to the guy that scored the touchdowns, not the guy who just didn't screw the game up. That's like, it's the same thing with Dillon.
Oh, man, I don't know. That seems harsh on Jackson Dart in that game.
I thought he looked okay. I thought he looked fine. No, fine's a better word. Like, do I think he looked better than Dillon Gabriel?
That's a harsh grade in my opinion. Okay.
Like, what special thing? I think he's tough as hell, by the way. I'll give him credit. I think toughness. That is an A1 trait right there. He's got a nice arm. Like, he's a nice player. But if he was 1-2, if they had lost last night by a field goal, I don't think anyone's talking about Jackson Dart the same way. I think we're doing the thing that we do when young quarterbacks win, and we're putting way too much emphasis on that. I think much like Dillon Gabriel, he gets credit for just being better than Russell Wilson. I don't think we should overreact to this point. I mean,
I thought it was impressive. I was impressed by
65% completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Like, I don't remember what his ADOT is, but generally pretty
well. He did.
Okay,
he had a pretty decent game 1. He stunk game 2, and then the game last night. And like, I obviously I'm focusing a lot on last night because last night is the game that we all watched in full, and we all sat in front of our TVs and really got to sit and watch him play a decent amount. And I left impressed, but it doesn't mean they have their franchise quarterback, and this is why I'm not killing the Browns today. I would kill the Browns if I thought that Jackson Dart was the franchise quarterback, and oh boy, you really did miss in a big way. That's yet to be written. But that was a draft, and the important note of this is that was a draft where they hosted him, they went to his pro day, they did all the due diligence in the world, and they walked away and said, no, thank you.
But here's the thing. If the Browns were right on Jackson Dart, no one's going to circle back and be like, glad we dodged that bullet. The same people today who did the meltdown after 3 games. Again, it was fine. I'm impressed with him in that he is better than I thought he was going to be as a rookie. That doesn't mean I see like something special there. Like, when you watched him last night, did you see special? I saw some gutsy stuff that I liked, but same thing with Cam Scadaboo. Like, Cam Scadaboo, if I need 7 yards, is a lot of fun. If I need 3 yards, is a lot of fun. If I need 40 yards, okay.
He had a couple throws to Wan'Dale Robinson that I didn't know he could make. So the big question with Dart, and Dart was obviously very polarizing. We talked a lot about him leading up to the draft, but he's polarizing because it's like, how much of what Ole Miss does can translate? You know, like they get the high-powered offenses, and you do all that, and it's like, how much of that will actually translate to the NFL? And some of the throws he made last night, I thought definitely translated.
216-474-0092. Are you maybe blaming the Browns today for not having drafted Jackson Dart? I'm not saying this won't become a valid conversation. I'm not saying that that I'm not saying I don't understand that this is a bad look for people who need a quarterback, and we're choosing between Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, a 3rd and 5th rounder, and Jackson Dart theoretically was right there. I also look at this and go, yeah, I'm going to need a little bit more. I need to see like a special quarterback before I really start to. Actually, no, there's one more thing. I remember like 5 guys on social media that wanted Jackson Dart. I don't remember anybody in the media calling for him, and I don't remember too many guys in the draft community pounding the table for him either.
I thought he was like the consensus 3rd quarterback in the draft.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone
I thought there was a distinction there. It was like Cam Ward and Shedeur, and then there was a gap, and the gap started then with Jackson Dart.
But I don't remember anyone saying franchise quarterback. I don't remember anyone saying the Browns should draft him.
He still went in the 1st round, though. It's not as if he was perceived to be like some slacky quarterback, just a bad quarterback.
Do you remember anyone saying they should draft him?
No, I remember not the Browns. No, not specifically the Browns. I didn't want them to draft him. But like again, that's not the point. I'm not the one making the decision. Like they're the ones going to his pro day. They're the ones getting up close and personal. Again, Stefanski went to his pro day. They hosted him here. They have the eyeballs on it. They're the pros. They're supposed to be able to identify this stuff. They clearly. I mean, again, it's too early to say they clearly missed on him because who knows? Maybe he'll turn around and absolutely stink up the joint. But early returns for the Giants. Dable looks right now like he saved his job.